housing market. It's a crisis for most of us, but not for them.
We have made six figures.
How they're making a fortune on foreclosures.
Cindy and Kurtis Squires.
Kurtis and Cindy Squires.
Kurtis and Cindy Squires.
Kurtis and Cindy Squires, you guys are using the F word. And I don't mean the four-letter F word. I'm talking about flipping.
Hi, I'm Kurtis Squires.
And I'm Cindy Squires.
You're about to receive the most unbelievable step-by-step action plan that details exactly how we're taking bank foreclosures and flipping them to hungry investors for regular checks between $7,000 and $15,000. We're so excited to finally be able to share this with you in person instead of emails back and forth, shoulders getting hunched over. And you know, it was really over this past week that we had to kind of prepare this and put it down and organize it, that we really started to see what a huge opportunity this is. I mean, you guys are so smart to be here because we're beginning a cycle where if you do the math, you can make a lot of money with very little risk and very fast. You know, fast background, Kurtis Squires and my wife is Cindy Squires, and we call ourselves flipper clowns. We've been doing full retail fix and flips for going on 12 years. And I would say in '05 is when we started to see it happen, where everything just went. And you look in the newspaper and it says median home prices are still rising, everything's hunky-dory. If you were flipping houses, you knew something was wrong in 2005 because we had maybe like 7 houses, you're starting to get 6 and then 7 and then 8, and all of a sudden they're not selling. And not only are they not selling, but they're not even being shown anymore. So '05 was pretty tough. '06 was horrible. '06 everything stopped. I'm sure you've heard this. There's a lot of investors that got voted off of Real Estate Island over the last 2 years. And I stole that from a friend of mine, Mike can too, but I mean, everything just slowed down tremendously in '06 and '07. And it was out of necessity that we started wholesaling properties. So we're actually fairly new at wholesaling properties. We started about a year ago. And boy, I tell you what, since we made that change, even when the cycle changes back, I think I can safely say that wholesaling will always be the core of our strategy, because babysitting contractors, and, the amount of, put it this way, the return on cash is basically almost infinite because you don't have any outlay. The time you wait to get your money, your cash flow, is easier. Now, on a per deal basis, if you flip a house, you make more money. But it's kind of like a conveyor belt where you got this flow versus you're waiting. You're waiting and waiting, and then you get this big chunk. But give me the conveyor belt anytime.
And a chunk every once in a while.
Exactly, exactly.
It's still fun.
And that's the nice thing too about wholesaling is what you'll find out is there's still home runs. It's just the law of averages. You'll get some home runs, but in between those home runs, you have cash flow. And you guys are so smart to come here because this is huge. I mean, we're doing it, and it's huge, and it's not that hard. It's a lot easier than flipping. I have to say this real quick too. We're wholesaling houses to other investors. And I've seen 3 flip. The renters are great because they get it, they write a check, boom, they get a renter. We've seen 3 flippers now that went over time 2 or 3 months and went over budget. I saw this 3 times in a row, and one of them's a professional contractor.
And in the meantime, while they're doing this and taking too long, the market's dropping and dropping, and their profit is shrinking and shrinking, and then all of a sudden we're nervous.
Yeah, and
so
we feel bad for them, so REOs are flooding the market. So that's why we're so excited, and the whole reason we're doing this is to share this with you guys. And to make it even better, the more of you that get successful at doing this, the more we can help each other. Because the whole key on this thing is buyers, is finding investor buyers. And we're learning how to find them fast. And by showing you how we're doing it, you build a buyer list. Think about it for a minute. You get a great deal, you shoot it out to your buyers. If it doesn't sell right away, I've got Mark's, or Antonio's buyer list that I can send it to, and it's called a JV. We split it. So by helping each other, we have a huge network of investor buyers. And once once you get a deal and you lock that deal up, you can be really confident that you're going to be able to sell it. And when I say do the math, what's the market doing right now? It's not very hard to get a deal right now. So once you get the buyers in place, that's it. So that's the whole, it's not rocket science. So that's a little bit about our background. And this is not pie in the sky theory, and it's not seminar filler that you've heard over and over again. This is usable stuff that works in this market. We know, because this is how we make our living.
That's right, and that's why recently we were featured on the front page of the LA Times, MSN Money, Inside Edition, Fox News 3 or 4 times, and even more.
Now, before I keep going, you might have a little voice in the back of your head that's wondering, why would these people be giving me this free information if they're doing so great flipping foreclosures? Well, the altruistic reason that we might give you is that it really helps the economy, moving these vacant, broken down houses to investors to be fixed up, and it injects cash back into the system.
Or that it helps create beautiful new homes for families who need them.
And don't forget about the investors. You're helping other investors realize their hopes and dreams by providing them with deeply discounted houses. But let me explain. Now, about a decade ago, Cindy and I started buying, fixing, and selling for profit over 280 homes across Southern California. Our first year in real estate, we made over $400,000 and things were great until 2005. In 2005, the California real estate market crashed in what is now going to be recognized as the biggest real estate crash in history.
Yeah, if you're a real estate professional of any kind, you understand what Kurtis is talking about.
Now, we had 9 properties in various stages of repair, and we committed one of the classical textbook mistakes where we had over 80% of our net worth tied up in these properties. Well, you take 9 mortgages, a full-time employee, 2 part-time employees.
Don't forget 4 kids, and one of them was an infant at that time.
Yeah, and that really hurt because Cindy runs our rehabs, so you throw a newborn into the equation, and you know, basically I had Cindy a lot less than I needed her. So 2006 was undoubtedly the hardest year of my entire life. It's the first year that I stopped coaching the kids' soccer teams. I started working 90-hour work weeks.
Yeah, I remember Kurtis went on a conference across the country, and kids and I barely even noticed he was gone.
Yeah. Well, it was a full-time job trying to get rid of these properties. We held auctions. We did everything we could. And don't forget, this is when the mortgage meltdown peaked. 100 national lenders went out of business, and 2 of our escrows completely fell out. So as hard as we tried, we ended up losing 2 of those properties to foreclosure. Yeah. And we were financially wiped out.
It was a very scary time for us. I remember it was my 40th birthday, and Kurtis and I looked at each other and said, we need to see the forest through the trees. So we got in the car and just started driving and writing on a notepad, and we wrote down all of our strengths and weaknesses, and we realized one thing.
That we're good at one thing, which is getting deals. I mean, we've done literally hundreds of thousands of postcards, direct mail, signs, billboards. I've knocked on hundreds of doors.
You can buy a house at the kitchen table.
We can buy it through escrow. We're really good at getting deals. So what we did was we changed our entire business model to something that's called wholesaling. And that was the beginning of farbelowmarket.com in the beginning of 2007. So what we did from there is we targeted bank foreclosures because we knew the number of foreclosures the banks were going to have to start selling them for great prices. Well, it took a few months, but we finally got one. And this time, instead of fixing it up and calling a contractor, we called an investor friend that we knew, and within a week we had a check in our hand for $7,000.
We knew we were onto something then. We got another deal under contract about 3 weeks later and wholesaled that one to another investor friend for about $15,000.
Right, and it just kept getting better and better because what we would do is when we got an offer accepted from the bank, we would immediately take pictures of the property, put it on Craigslist, eBay, just all over the internet. And we would get a flood of emails from other investors that were, hungry for these deals. So our buyers list with each deal got bigger and bigger and bigger.
So now you do the math. You've got banks just giving properties away at fire sale prices, and you've got a whole bunch of real estate investors who are hungry for deals.
Yeah, and it really worked great, and it basically is what turned it around for us.